Be'ezras Hashem Yisburach, I'm going to start now the Shvere story of דינה and Shechem. Parshas Vayishlach by Chamishi. Torah says, "V'taytzeh דינה bas Laye, asher yolda liYankov, lidas v'nois uretz." The basic story is דינה went out, and she was caught by Shechem, who was the prince, and he attempted to seduce her, and she didn't agree, and then so he raped and sodomized her, and that caused the whole Ari'as of the story, in which Shimon and Levi, the children of Yankov, killed out the entire city of Shechem. Now we'll go into the story a little bit more deeply. So the first thing is, there's a very interesting Rashi in the beginning of the Parak that says Bas Laye, that it says because Laye was the one who went out. Laye used to go out. She was a Yatzunas, it says that Laye went out. L'krusoi, to Yankov, so too דינה also went out. Some people learned this Rashi, and I believe that they're learning it wrongly. Laye, when she went out, was doing the right thing, and the Chazal say in Masechta Eirevin, Kif Aleph, that it was a very great thing that she did, and that's why she was zoiche to a child Yisocher from that story. Yisocher, the Gemara says, was from the greatest children. So it's not a tana. It's just a tana of Laye that she went out. The point is, there were two different natures. There was Laye's nature, and there was Yaakov or Ruchel's nature. Yaakov was Yoshev Hulam, and Ruchel had a similar nature to Yaakov. And Laye had a nature of Vataitzai. So the Torah is telling you that she went out. What's the chiddush? What's the chiddush that she went like Laye? Laye was her mother. There's a very interesting tag in Yonason. Yonason ben Azil touches by the story of Achayol de Bas, that Laye was supposed to have a son, and she changed it into a daughter in order that Ruchel should have at least two children. In other words, it would have happened that Laye would have had a son, and Ruchel would have had a daughter, according to the calculation that has to be 12 shvutim. So according to this Tag Yonason, he says it was a little bit different. He says that the Rebbeinu Shloim, Laye was Mispal, or Ruchel was Mispal, according to one day, and the Rebbeinu Shloim switched the embryos, and דינה, who was really the daughter of Ruchel, was born to Laye, and Yosef, who was really the son of Laye, was born to Ruchel. Mamayla came verstehen that the Torah is telling you a chiddush. דינה really would have had the nature of Ruchel, and she would have stayed home. But because she was Bas Laye, either because birth mother was Laye, and perhaps you get something from that, or more likely that it's nature versus nurture, and the nurture also accomplishes something. So that's why it says דינה Bas Laye. Okay, so we go back to the meat and potatoes of the story. So Shechem attempted to seduce her. He tried to explain to her why it's a good idea that she should marry the prince, and she wasn't buying any of that. And it's a big chiddush and a big shvach for somebody to be able to withstand that temptation. And as is in Aladoiris, Maaseh v'Sim Labunim, the entire Parshas Vayishlach, is how the Yidden are going to act and react in the times of Gulas. And this was also that similar situation. There are times that the Goyim are going to try to seduce us, and we don't succumb to temptation. And then the Goyim go ahead and do, unfortunately, they do terrible things. And eventually there's some Nakoma B'siyata Dishmaya, which we'll see later. So he went and he raped and sodomized her. And then there's a lot of Lashonis over here of how much love he had for her, which is very interesting, but I guess that's how a guy operates. But tidbak nafsho, his whole heart was Vayeha v'sanari, he loved her, Vayidaber alive hanare. He spoke to her things, loving things, and then it says Shechem b'ni chashke nafshe v'bitchem, and ki chufa etzivas Yankov, so many Lashonis. The sound is that Aishas Chachman Shara Ahava says we have to be able to take all the feelings that people have in Olam Haza and turn it to Hashem. And from this parasha, he says you could learn what it means to love Hashem. Kiviyuch. Isn't that amazing? Al Kapunem, the Torah Fatzayel Tamasa, that Shem asked for her hand in marriage. Yaakov was silent. Yaakov Shema ki tima yazdina bita. They were matame her, and he didn't respond. Vehechrish Yaakov ad boyim. He was quiet. He was silent. Then when his children came, they were very sad. Vayis atzavi hu anushem vayicha lehem. They were very hurt, and they decided that they're going to make a tachbila. They're going to do a tachbila with Shem and Chamor. Chamor was the head of the land, and his son was Shem. So they said, "Look, we want to do the shidduch." So the Bnei Yaakov responded, "We can't do a shidduch with people that are Ari'im, that are uncircumcised. You need to circumcise yourselves, and then we can do a shidduch with you." So they said fine. They said, okay, that's a good idea. The entire city needs to circumcise themselves, not a problem. The entire city is going to get circumcised. They're all going to mala themselves. Now, Be'etzim, the original plan had been that they're going to say, look, you guys got to circumcise. And they're going to say, definitely not. We can't do that. I mean, no normal person is going to do that. Certainly not the whole city should go ahead and perform, a difficult surgery and circumcise themselves. They're not going to agree. And since they're not going to agree, they'll be able just to take their daughter and say, okay, we're going. But they did agree. And now there was a question what to do. So Shimon and Levi took matters into their own hands and went ahead and killed the whole city. Now the question is, how were they allowed to do that? So famous Rambam says that Shem and Chamor were chayav misa for kidnapping, the forced rape and the kidnapping of דינה. The rest of the town was chayav misa for not having a system in place to judge and to punish the people who did something wrong. Ramban argues and says that Shem avad is chayav misa for the kidnap and the rape, but the rest of the town is not chayav misa for not having that in place. But he says the rest of the town is chayav misa for other reasons. He says we see they were avodah zura, we see that they did other avayis, and he says that they did Gilead, they did other things. I'm not worried about why they were chayav misa. However, he says it was not upon Shimon and Levi, even not upon Bnei Yaakov, to kill them out. If we know today that there are Bnei Noach that are doing avodah zura or even Gilead or Gezel or other avayis, even though it's from the Sheva Mitzvah Bnei Noach and the chayav misa, it's not our job to go kill them. And therefore, Shimon and Levi did not have the job to kill them, and that's why Yaakov was upset with them. And we'll talk about it at the end of the Parsha Mitzvah, why they actually did it and what was their cheshbon. But this is the cheshbon. I'll tell you now the cheshbon. The cheshbon was, they said, there's a difference between the language that they used and the language that Shem used. And it's a huge difference. It seems to be a small difference, but it's really a big difference. They said, we will give you our daughters based upon whom we want to have as a shidduch. And Shem went and told the town, look, these people, everything they have is ours. All the miknayim, kinyunam, everything they have is ours. And their daughters will take whomever we want from them. And we'll give them, if we want, we'll do a shidduch with them too. So it's not just a subtle difference, there's a huge difference. What was the reason for saying that they have to mala themselves? Of course, it was meant originally just so that they shouldn't be able to, that they should be able to squeeze out of the thing and say, look, you're not maling. But there was really something much deeper. If they do agree to circumcise themselves, that means something. What does circumcision mean? What does it mean to be gemalit? To be gemalit means that I'm giving up my tavas for the Eibishter. The Mila is the Mukam HaTava, and I'm giving up my tavas to the Eibishter. I'm willing to become a better person. What did Shem say? Do the Mila in order to get all of your tavas, to get everything that you want, so that we can afterwards own all of their stuff. We can own all of their cattle. We can own all of their daughters. So you're using the Mila, which is meant to take away tava, to create tava, to give me everything that I want. That is a terrible miscarriage of the mitzvah of Mila. And that's not considered like they mala themselves. To mala means imaltem es olas lavavchem. You have to mala your heart. They were not maling their heart. So that's why they were entitled to kill them. Adarabba, this is the proof in the pudding that they were not maling themselves. The Pusik says over here, it's very interesting, the Pusik says, Vayibayam ha-shalishi v'yosim kayavem, and Shimon ben Levi took ish charboy vayu al ir beitach. 2 points on this. Why did they come b'yoim ha-shlishi? Some of Hashim say because on the third day, the people are more hurt. They're in such pain on the third day already, the third day after the Mila. There's Be'etzim the Gemara in Shabbos, in the place of the Mila, discusses it, and there's some dayas that hold that the third day is worse, but most dayas hold that the third day is easier than the first 2 days. So that's why Chizkini, the Asakainim, explained it a little differently. It took 3 days until everybody in the town malad themselves. So they waited until the third day. Vayavoy al ir beitach, we have to attach the word betach. Betach means calm. They were unsuspecting. And it's referring to Bepashtas, it's referring to the city. The city was unsuspecting. They did not expect that anybody's going to go kill them. So Shimon and Levi came upon a ear that was sitting betach. Rashi adds in, Gefi the Medrash, that Shimon and Levi were betach. They had betochen in the schis of the tefillah of Yaakov Avinu. I just want to point out, before we finish off this Peirik, there's an important word to be aware of in Pusik Chav Tes. When somebody reads Pusik Chav Tes, it says shovi is a word over there. Usually we would read it as shovi. Here we have to read it as shovi. The reason is because shovi means returning, and shovi means capturing. And in this case, it means capturing. Okay. Anyway, to finish off this Peirik, and I think we're going to stop here after we finish this Peirik. So it says they responded. Yaakov complained to Shimon and Levi. Why did they do it? And they responded. The older Mefarshim ask, if Shimon and Levi were entitled to go kill out Shechem, why did Yaakov complain so bitterly that they did it? And why did he afterwards curse them at the time of his... He didn't curse them, he cursed their anger. Uder apam kios at the time of Birchas Yaakov. So I think the answer is because there's a halacha that moira halacha b'fnai rabbo is chayav misa. If somebody needs to paskin a shala and the Rebbe is there, he's not allowed to paskin the shala. And if somebody does paskin the shala, he's chayav misa. And this is mentioned in Parshas Ba'aloischu and in many places. So Shimon and Levi paskin the shala without Yaakov. They didn't ask Yaakov. And therefore, in a way, they were chayav misa for it. But the one way to break that misa, to break those dinim, is by embarrassing them, because if somebody embarrasses somebody, it's like he dies. And that's why he went ahead and he complained to them. They should have accepted it. But they responded. And their response sort of negated the bisha. So that's why they had to again, b'shas misa, Yaakov did it again, and at that point they didn't respond, and therefore there was able to be a tikkun on their moed halacha b'fnai rabbi.